What's unique about Design Philadelphia is it's not built around a trade show or any particular center. It's not at the convention center where you can go and see things. What's really unique is that it's citywide, and we infiltrate all the communities and try to get them very involved. We, at this point, believe that Design Philadelphia is the largest event of its kind in the country. I wanted to have a space that could do design exhibitions, that could do outreach programs, and that could find a way to help people understand why design is so important in everyday life. That's my manifesto. We hit upon this idea of not doing it out here, but doing it in public places where people don't have to come to it, it comes to them. We kind of let go of the idea of really having a theme. I mean, design is the theme. It's about design, it's about community, and it's about commerce. It's the intersection of all three of those things. In our fourth year, last year, for Design Philadelphia 2008, we had about 235,000 people experience some form of an event or an exhibition or a book signing or a product launch or a sort of special event where the streets themselves became the platform for exhibiting design.
It's now hit that point where people I've never met before are talking about it and telling us to check out Design Philadelphia, which is a pretty exciting kind of tipping point. Philadelphia was known as the workshop of the world, and in the 1800s, with so many factories located in Philadelphia that were producing, designing, and creating, and then shipping out to the world, the historic context is here. The physical skills, the factories that have built so much of this and taught the skills that they've been passed down through families, things like the Quaker Lace Company that is referenced in the Lace and Translation show, but also other forms of production. And in the past 5 years or so, there's definitely been a lot more people connecting to the history of the workshops and bringing that skill back into the factories. So there are many of the old abandoned factories that are now studios and workshops that, interestingly enough, the same skills and craft sets are being applied in those spaces. So there's a lot of people that have reconnected to that hands-on making that is what design really is.
Well, it's really encouraging for the students to see that there are so many creative businesses here in Philadelphia that give them options to both explore what they're interested in doing and to also know that they could stay here and do their own work and create their own small businesses that might blossom in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a wonderfully placed city on the eastern seaboard, and it allows for easy access to different markets and resources. And I think that student retention and the attraction of other corporations have been a big part of what Design Philadelphia has been about. The other thing that is really important about Design Philadelphia is building the reputation of Philadelphia as a city for innovation and change. And that's the message that I keep hammering home, that we are our own city, that we have an incredible set of assets here. This year has been blossoming. Last year was 93 events, and we thought that was huge. The blossoming is happening because we're being much more inclusive and actively going after other kinds of creative businesses that haven't necessarily been included in the past. So that the outreach has been very successful and in help bringing in other kinds of businesses and things you wouldn't necessarily think of as design.
And there's also exhibitions like Philly Works, which is building on the idea of the workshop of the world and creating an exhibition for local designers who may not have a studio of their own to open but want to show work that they're creating in Philadelphia, producing locally, and hopefully trying to reach a regional market. So they'll show as part of Philly Work.
We do things from the very serious to the very fun and sort of kitschy, because that's what Philadelphia is. I mean, it's got a whole melange of experiences to have here.
90% of our events are free. All of them are open to the public. And so that's one of our biggest goals, is to really try to create opportunities and reasons that anyone interested could attend, whether it's a student studying design, or it's an accountant, or it's the parking meter maid who happens to walk by and can't ticket the installation because it's design and not a car. And that's a really interesting dialogue that has really started, of that moment where there's not a barrier of having to pay to see design, but it's right there in front of you and anybody can attend.
The other aspect is we don't charge anyone to participate in Design Philadelphia. So it's a difficult business model, but essentially what it relies on is the help of the institution that we're associated with. In this case, Philadelphia University has been incredibly generous over the past 5 years in helping to produce this program of outreach for both them and the community, and our own ability to raise funds through corporations, foundations, and individuals. We really wanted the people who were participating, who were creating these events, to have enough funding so that they could create great events. You know, a lot of them are very young. They don't have resources. So, you know, they go to, you know, other people to collaborate and to create some kind of great event.
For many of the professional firms, it's that opportunity to do the project that they've always wanted to do and haven't found a client to pay them to do. So they get to do it, and this is their installation or their exhibition for Design Philadelphia, is that they've always wanted to curate a show on bicycle rack design or something to that effect, and that they're able to do that as their event for Design Philadelphia rather than trying to find a client willing to do it. It's they're their own client.